Welcome everybody to a special edition of WCW 2004 here, as it's a Starrcade Preview, as we're going to go over all the matches on the card, the background, and what's at stake at them, all about Starrcade, which will be eliminating live from the Covia Center in beautiful Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, the Cradle of Extreme in professional wrestling, one of the raucous crowds at the end of 2004. So, if you fell behind a little bit on the series, just came across it, and trying to, or just, missed a couple shows and trying to catch up, then this will be, a good choice for you to do that. But let's go on with the first match on the show, which is the one with kind of the least background. And that match is the annual Ignition Cruiserweight match, as Elo Skipper will be defending his title against 7 other men, including Jerry Lynn, the, of course, former ECW champion, who shockingly came to WCW about a month ago, Prince Jose, the Ghanaian prince, who, has tried to buy his way into prominence here at WCW, a newcomer Austin Aries, newcomer from Japan, Akari Wadaka, Tony Kuzina, and Takamichi Ogu, who made his return a few weeks ago. And they all won matches to qualify, and then we have, of course, a long-time member of the Cruiserweight division here, Yang, who won the Cruiser Scramble match on Revolution in the last match that the Cruiserweight division will be part of Revolution to get in this match. 8 men, and Skipper has been a very dominant Cruiserweight champion since May, defeating all comers, including Yang, Kazina, Taka, Blitzkrieg, and others, but he'll be facing 7 other men, so it'll be a big match for him. Of course, Chris Suzuki was also supposed to be part of this match, but I forgot to double check that and didn't realize that since he's the book for M-Pro, he'll choose M-Pro over us. So unfortunately, he'll not be wrestling in the Cruiserweight match, and that would be announced, on WCW.com a couple of days quietly. But still going to be a high-flying, exciting match, and only one man can come out with the Cruiserweight champion. The question is, can one of these men take the title off of Skipper, or will Skipper prove he truly is the current king of the Cruiserweights at this time in WCW? Another match with not quite as much of a background, but of course had some heat to it, is the annual Starrcade Tag Team Gauntlet, where the winner will get a title shot. So we have some interesting teams involved, including America's Most Wanted, the Hart Legacy, the 2 members of Chosen Few in Mark Jindrak and Simply Johnny Devine, Jamie Noble and Ebony Sable, Reno and Cash, the Silver City Rollers, the Roman Legion, Team Canada of Storm and Awesome, and Alex Wright and Chad Guerrero Jr. So the interesting thing here is, of course, a lot of these teams have come in contact with each other. Yeah, they've been fighting for the tag titles, whether it's Wright and Chavo defending against Silver City Rollers, or fighting with Noble Anemone in the summer, A&W and Hart Legacy recently fighting, Storm and Awesome going against the Hart Legacy, Jindrak and Divine getting involved with the Hart Legacy, or attempting to go after titles, and the Roman Legion being the Roman Legion. But, these 7 teams, one-on-one, remember, there's a 10-minute time limit on each gauntlet match, or both teams are eliminated. And the final team, and we know the final team in the gauntlet is going to be, lost my train of thought there for a second. And we all know the final team in the gauntlet are going to be Jamie Noble and Ebony Sable, where the first 2 teams will be the Hart Legacy and the Roman Legion. Everything else is going to be a random draw. But, 7 of the best tag teams in professional wrestling will be clashing on Starrcade, but only one can walk out as the new number 1 contenders to the tag team champions, whoever they may be at the end of the night. So it's going to be a fun match, and lots of fun, quick, exciting matches, and honestly, a way to get some people on the card, in a way that kind of makes sense, as opposed to just a weird clusterfuck. And after that, we have the first of our big 6-man matches here on Starrcade, as it'll be the blonde bombshells of Celine Cartier, better known as Lufisto in real life, Natty Neidhart, and Roni Jonah, who's not a blonde bombshell, but let's say her hair is blonde now. I forgot she was not blonde when I named them. Not the end of the world, because originally it was supposed to be Jordan Cole, which I'll get into why she's not part of the team here in a second in the preview, taking on Captivation of Lizzie Dumas, otherwise known as Lita, Angel Fox, better known as Angela Love, and Lexi James, better known to you as Mickey James. Of course, this match was literally set up to be including Jordan Cole, but she got taken out on the last Revolution, rather, not Thunder's not show this anymore, on the last Revolution before the pay-per-view by Captivation. But of course, these women have been feuding each other for the last few months, as especially Jordan Cole and Celine Cartier have been helping out Tricia Sky in her feud with Captivation. But after Tricia Sky's moving on, Captivation still want to make a statement here and prove they rule the roost here in the women's division of WCW. But they've been, just fighting all over, and now this comes to a head, and Romy Jonah has replaced Jordan Cole since Jordan Cole was taken out. But now it'll be a 6-woman elimination rules match, and Eric Bischoff in his last action that he can take as with the women's division, since that women's division will now be exclusive to Teddy Long's Revolution in the year. It'll be elimination match, and the survivors will be the next in line to get a women's world title shot. So some of these 6 women will be the next in line to take on the women's champion, whoever they are. But first, they'll be battling each other in a vicious, exciting match on Starrcade live on pay-per-view. So maybe Rooney Jonah will shock the world. Maybe Lizzie Dumas will get a chance to prove she, truly is the best women's wrestler in the world, or one of the former women's world champions, such as Celine Cartier, Lexi James, or Angel Fox will get the big one. You'll just have to see at Starrcade. After that is a big Starrcade street fight, as Brother Ray, Sandman, and a mystery partner will take on Keenan Sharp, Ray LePen, and Tank Dolan. For those unaware, Keenan Sharp is, of course, Corey Graves. Ray LePen is the future Adam Rose, and Tank Dolan was a member of the Dicks, but also known as Tank Dolan. But this all goes back to the Mayhem tournament, where Tank Dolan, with lots of help from other people, got him to the Elite 8, where he got promptly destroyed by Brother Ray. But Tank Dolan went off the rails after that match, attacking Brother Ray before his, right after the match, sending him injured into the final ladder match. And then, so that leads Brother Ray to get some revenge. But as Brother Ray was chasing after Keenan Sharp, after Tank Dolan, first Ray LePen, then Keenan Sharp helped him, proving them as a new alliance here in WCW. 3 fairly newcomers to the company. Keenan Sharp first has been here about a year. Philip and Tolan came up from our dev territory in the past year, and now they're going after what they see as the vestiges of the old way of wrestling that needs to be put away, for young guns like them can rise to the top. But of course, Brother Ray had some help as Sandman came out to help him, and now the 6th man was made with a mystery partner. So who will help out the Extreme Brethren at Starrcade? You'll have to tune in and find out. But, it is going to be, the veteran and the advantage in the type of match to the Extreme team. But Sharp, LePen, and Toland are all 3 young, talented wrestlers. Sharp is a former U.S. champion, and LePen and Toland have been very impressive. Toland may have gotten to the Elite 8 in the Mayhem tournament, sort of, with lots of help, but he did get there, so that's impressive as well. So we'll just have to see who comes out the winner at the pay-per-view. And then we're up to our first title match of the evening, our first singles title match of the evening here at Starrcade, as Jonathan Torro will defend the WCW US title against Rey Mysterio. Of course, this goes back to a couple months when on pay-per-view, back in August, I believe, Jonathan Torro defeated Rey Mysterio on pay-per-view in probably the biggest win of his career up to that point. Since then, Torro has gone from strength to strength. He defeated, sorry, I can't talk today. He defeated Rey Mysterio Jr. at British Assault. He had a very exciting match against Rob Van Dam, stepping in in the feud for the injured Shane Helms. Then he defeated Paul London at Halloween Havoc to retain the U.S. title. He unfortunately lost to Rey Mysterio Jr. as part of the Mayhem tournament, sort of set this match up, as Rey then, challenged Torro, but Torro, as leader of the Roman Empire, wanted Rey to prove himself as worthy of the shot. So Rey Mysterio Jr. teamed with Tajiri in a handicap match to defeat the Roman Legion, including Rey pinning Torro again. So this set up that match, and of course, they've been fighting in big matches since then. But, it'll be Jonathan Torro, the rising star, the leader of the Roman Empire, who's been very impressive this year. He also, held the TV title for a long time earlier in the year against Rey Mysterio Jr., who, 2004, I guess you could consider it somewhat disappointing, as he hasn't, risen quite to the top. But he's been pretty, he's been talented. He's, fought in great matches, but he just hasn't had the huge statement, even though he did beat Eddie Guerrero at Halloween Havoc. But he's, sort of been not exactly lost, but not like a core part of the company. But this will be a big chance to get back sort of in the spotlight, become U.S. champion again, or will Jonathan Torro truly prove he's part of the future of WCW as we go through the middle 2000s? We'll just have to find out who walks out the United States champion at Starrcade. After that is a very interesting match that sort of rose quickly out of nowhere as at Mayhem, of course, Jeff Hardy got dinged for drugs and sent to rehab, so Eric Bischoff had to make a match out of nowhere, which ended up being a 4-way title match involving Shane Helms, Canyon, and these two men, Booker and Jeff Jarrett. And of course, after Jeff Jarrett was eliminated by Booker, Jeff Jarrett came out and walloped Booker with a guitar to, eliminate from a match. Of course, got Booker upset. And then these two men have been, first there was arguments, and, after Booker defeated Mark Jindrak, Jeff Jarrett tried to offer Booker a spot in the chosen few below him, which of course insulted Booker even more, which that led Jeff Jarrett, said, basically, if you don't want to be part of the chosen few, then he's going to take him out. And now these two former multiple-time world champions, and you could call sort of the core part of the late period of WCW, facing off. They're both still disliked from the fans. Booker's getting sort of mixed pops up for the moment because he is on his own, and who's ever going to cheer Jeff freaking Jarrett? But Jarrett does have his backup in the form of the chosen few, but we don't know, what state they'll be in after the tag team gauntlet. And Booker has Charmo by his side. Was going to be a huge match with, honestly ramifications for the world title scene, as beating a former world champion, especially a very successful former world champion, the former Booker, who was just world champion this year, or Jeff Jarrett, who, after, you would think after Horseman broke up, he'd be sort of lost, but he's been surprisingly successful so far after the Horseman broke up, and now they'll be facing off live on Starrcade in a huge match as, the crown goes against the Chosen, as Booker takes on Jeff Jarrett. Next up is a huge battle of the present against the future as AJ Styles tries to get what one could argue is the hugest win of his career against Eddie Guerrero. Of course, during the Mayhem tournament, AJ Styles got a huge win by defeating Booker and was in the Mayhem tournament final along with Eddie Guerrero, and that's where this stems from, as Eddie Guerrero, a guy who has gotten arrogant, cocky, and kind of a little bit excitable since turning heel, went off the rails, attacking AJ Styles viciously in the back, and basically thinks AJ got in his way and he should be the man who currently holds the call shot. But, AJ Styles has fought back valiantly and, said that, he respects Eddie, and, looked up to him, but now, it's his time to rise to the top of WCW, and defeating him will be, at the biggest one of his career, and prove that it's truly his time in this business at the moment. Like Guerrero, after, losing the title, losing to Jake Noble back in December, disappeared, and then, got angry with his own nephew, Chavo, and, went on this new aggressive, cocky, saying that's truly part of Guerrero family values. But at Starrcade, two of the best wrestlers in the world will face off in a match that will hopefully be very exciting, impressive, and steal the show as they'll take on each other at Starrcade. And honestly, if AJ Styles defeats Eddie Guerrero, he'll have a, place at the top of whatever show he's on. And if Eddie Guerrero wins, he'll be likely a world title contender once again. We'll just have to see who walks out as a man truly on a roll at Starrcade. Now it's time, and then next up, it's the huge triple threat match for the WCW World Women's Championship, and what could be argued is the biggest women's match in, let's just say it, American professional wrestling in decades. I mean, since maybe Moolah, Wendy Ricker in '85. I mean, Lizzie, Lita and Trisha had a huge match on a Raw, but it was on a Raw. Like, what's a bigger WrestleMania women's match? Like, honestly, not much at this period of time. So yeah, but of course, this all revolves around Joanie Lawler, who has been absolutely dominant in the division since coming into it in August. being the surprise person to win a Battle Royal back in July, defeating Gail Kim for the title back in August, and absolutely being destructively dominant since then, with no one really coming close to defeating her. Gail Kim, did her best, but was not truly ready for her in either match and kind of got rolled over. And Lawler has been, dominant even when put into match after match by Eric Bischoff, just been destroyed whoever put in front of her. But of course, then there's the other two women in this match. There's Trisha Sky, who feuded for months with Lacey Dumas and the rest of Captivation, but finally got the huge win over Lacey Dumas at Mayhem, as now looking to become the queen of the women's division here in WCW, and truly proven, she belongs here at the top of the division. And Gail Kim, thinks she still has a shot at being the top, and in a huge victory, defeating Trisha Sky cleanly in the middle of the ring to earn a chance into the triple threat. And these, both Trisha and Gail Kim are both Saturday Live fans, but there's been a little bit of tension between them since then. But of course, they'll have to be at the top of their game to defeat Joni Lawler, who has been absolutely dominant since becoming women's champion and since arriving here in the company. Since arriving here in the division, and of course, after being a long time manager of Canyon, and then before that, just since then, just being a dominant over part of the women's division. But only one woman can walk out the World Women's Champion. Will be the dominant champion Lawler, the former, ace of her division back up north, Trisha Sky, or the former women's division and the so-called head bitch in charge, Gail Kim, which I have to see at Starrcade. And next up is a huge match as Canyon tries to take the called shot from Kidman in a big match. Of course, Kidman has been a rising, member of the WCW roster in the last couple of years. Went, rising to the top after a heel turn and aligning with Mike Awesome and Lance Storm as a triumvirate, as three men who feel they've been held down for various reasons. And Kidman, turned face after the Horsemen fell apart and has not had the best 2004. But way back in August, they faced off, and Kidman got another huge victory. And Canyon left for a while, but he returned as a mystery attacker, going after the triumvirate, hitting Canyon cutters on everybody, and eventually revealing himself to be that man. And they faced off at Halloween Havoc once again, where Canyon got a huge win, and it looked like, in a way, this feud was over. Canyon got his big win, Kidman was defeated, and both men could move on. But then they faced off in the Revolution tournament, where Kidman got a big win, and then, he went on to win the main tournament and the called shot. So then Canyon came out and basically, called Kidman out, saying he beat Canyon before, and, he wants one more match to prove that, if Kidman really wants to prove he deserves to have the called shot. Of course, Kidman has been saying, he beat Canyon twice, so he's done with him. But, Canyon keeps on telling him, in the back of the head, he knows he can hit him with any time. And in what you could argue is their biggest match, Canyon got the big victory. And of course, a few weeks back, in the lead up, Canyon got a huge win over Kidman again. So as far as pinfalls over each other, they're currently tied 2-2. So in this rubber match, with the called shot that you get for winning the man tournament on the line, two of the biggest stars in WWE will face off, as Kidman will try to hit the Canyon cutter one more time on Kidman, and Kidman will try to put Canyon down with the Kid Crusher in a huge match here on Starrcade for the called shot. Next up in a match to prove who's the man, Goldberg will face off against Bonnie Brown. Of course, I don't have to go over who Goldberg is. He's been Goldberg, a dominant part of the fabric here in WCW. His 2004, you could argue, it hasn't been his best year, but, he still, was part of several world title matches, a huge cage heat match, a world TEW defeat in Macias back in St. Marie. He fought for the world title, even though he lost at Great American Bash. But his opponent, Monty Brown, since basically arriving here in WCW, up from our dev territory, has been absolutely, completely dominant, not losing, and honestly, not even coming close to losing. As he really made his actual debut way back at Starrcade last year, defeating Ernest Miller, and since then he has been on a tear. Not even coming close to losing. Eventually, after a couple months of dominating the undercard, squashing people, he's now defeated people such as, Dustin Rhodes, Paul London, Sting, and then he truly made the challenge take down Goldberg. But they fought to WQ at Halloween Havoc, brawled over, which involved Monty Brown sending Goldberg into the WCW screen, knocking Goldberg out for a month and giving him a suspension, which took them both out of the Mayhem tournament. But, both men made their return, and, the challenge was made for one last match between these two titanic members of the division, as Monty Brown wants to prove he's the man now and the dominant one in professional wrestling, while Goldberg wants to still remind everybody he's called the man for a reason. And these two, this is not going to be pretty. This is not going to be a 5-star classic. There's not going to be a lot of psychology here. This is going to be two big son of bitches going after each other, trying to take each other, put each other down in ways that, frankly, lesser men really couldn't. And they're going to be battling. They're going to be throwing big bombs at each other. But then one man can walk out as a winner to really prove he's the man. And we'll have to see who that is at Starrcade. And it's time for the match that perhaps has the most behind it, the most hatred, the most disappointment, the most agony, as former friends turn enemies, now natural born enemies, as Sean O'Haire takes on Chuck Polimbo. Of course, these two have been partners and friends for years. Month after month, year after year, they teamed up as Sean O'Haire rose to the top and became world champion. But Chuck Polimbo was always right beside him. And some people thought that Polimbo should be the guy who gets the big, who gets the start here. But O'Haire was world champion. But after he lost, they teamed up a little bit again. But once again, what happened was that Polimbo, way back, at Fall Brawl, had the chance to become the number one contender, and he lost it, unfortunately for him. But also what happened was that, he got into a, what's we're looking for here? So he disappeared for a while. Well, no, sorry, he didn't disappear for a while, but then he was part of a, he was part of a series against Jeff Jarrett to earn another title shot, and Jarrett actually got a mini tournament, and Jeff Jarrett actually got the win over him. And unfortunately that let Polimbo leave for a while, to go on his own, travel the country on his bike, try to figure it out himself. And he did find something, which Sean O'Haire found out at Halloween Havoc when, as part of the world title match, Chuck Polimbo made his return after being a couple weeks away and attacking his former best friend, allowing Shane Helms to become the world champion. And then Sean O'Haire had to figure out what happened, and Polimbo found out what happened. Polimbo found a new woman, Raven Rain, who convinced him that Sean O'Haire was always looking only out for Sean O'Haire, not his friend Chuck Polimbo. And now Chuck Polimbo wants to prove that he always should have been the man, the guy at the top, earning title shots, not getting attacked as part of Messias or, being the backup. He wants to prove that it's his time to rise to the top in WCW. Well, Sean O'Haire still wants to show it's a future shock. He has to go over his best friend. And these two will battle. Again, much like Monty Brown and Goldberg, this is not going to be lots of fluid professional wrestling moves going on. This is going to be two former friends, turn enemies, trying to kick the shit out of each other, live on pay-per-view. Natural born enemies. Once again, Sean O'Haire versus Chuck Polimbo. Only one man can walk out. Let's just see who it is at Starrcade. Then, it's our main event. The current world champion, Shane Helms, taking on Rob Van Dam in the Cradle of Extreme, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and what's going to be a very partisan crowd, even more than usual for Rob Van Dam, as he attempts to finally become the world champion after losing several title shots over the past year or so. But of course, that's not the story of Rob Van Dam. This match is also the story of Shane Helms, who, after being the Legend Killer, after being the self-described greatest United States champion of all time, finally rose to the top, defeating Shane O'Haire, even he had some help, as described previous, to win that title. He's still the champion, and of course he truly maybe made a statement win as a champion as he defeated Kanan, Jarrett, and Booker, all former world champions, in a fatal 4-way match after Jeff Hardy was popped for drugs, in a huge match at Mayhem to become the world champion. But of course, also at Mayhem, we find out that we found out way back at Halloween Havoc, though, that his opponent at Starrcade would be Rob Van Dam, as Van Dam defeated Jeff Jarrett at Halloween Havoc in a cage match to become the number one contender. But of course, as part of the Mayhem tournament, Shane Helms helped screw over Rob Van Dam. And before that, even, they had a very exciting feud in the summer, going at each other in great matches after RVD, shockingly, Shane Helms got injured in one of their matches, allowing RVD to win, which of course is why Shane Helms is consistent that he can defeat RVD. But, as part of this feud also, in the last couple months, Shane Helms has been making digs at Extreme, because of course, why wouldn't he? And, after their timeout match at Slamboree, and you could make an argument, Helms only lost at Character Bash due to his injury. There's a question of, can Rob Van do it? Like, he's been very impressive with WCW. He's been U.S. champion. He's been part of lots of great matches, but he's never won the big one. And, as Helms has pointed out, along with attacking the idea of Extreme, insulting the fans of Philadelphia and anybody who followed the former Extreme promotion RVD was part of. And, of course, last week in ECW Arena, as part of the preview of Starrcade, he brought up Steve Reno, Old School, to attack Rob Van Dam, even though Van Dam eventually had help. But that's all done after Starrcade. One man will walk out the world champion. Will be the new effing show, Rob Van Dam? Will RVD finally spell champion? Or will Shane Helms prove to all his critics, to all his doubters, to all the fans who think he's kind of a paper champion, that not only is he the greatest U.S. champion of all time, he's now the standard bearer in this business when it comes to the world champion? We'll just have to find out at the pay-per-view. Starrcade, the main event. Shane Helms, Rob Van Dam in 2004 in WCW. Well, that's some booking for you. But again, that's it. One man will walk out the world champion, and you'll have to find out on pay-per-view. That, folks, is the show. Lots of big matches, and honestly, this show compared to last Starrcade the feuds have been a little bit more condensed. There's oh my god, I completely forgot to preview the tag title match. Oh my god, I can't believe I forgot to do that. Oh my god. Okay, hold on a second. So this obviously is not going to be the main event, but I fucked up and completely passed over it as I was going over my cards. I looked straight at it, said I would get to it as I went over, and totally missed it. See, that's planning, folks. You gotta do it. Anyway, World Tag Title match. Mercedes Morningstar, after being gone for a month or so, arrived back and said part of their message was being part of the tag division, and honestly, they were rising to the top, becoming the WCW Tag Team Champions together as the members of the Deadpool left. San Vampiro went up north. And after dominating at the tag division and winning a 4-way match at Mayhem, it looked like they had no comers, and it looked like they were going to completely take out the Heart. We could see when none other than Sting came back after he'd gone for a few months, coming down from the ceiling and going after the Deadpool once again as he'd gone for years. Sting challenged Morningstar to a match where if he won, he and a partner would get a title shot, and we find out who that partner was as Ric Flair made his return after being gone for months, hitting Morningstar with brass knucks to help Sting get the victory, as that's sort of been the deal. Sting and Flair being wily veterans who are willing to do what they need to do to get the win because they're facing two tough SOBs, Macias, the Monster, and Morningstar, the man who receives the message. And, they sort of, walked into the Graveyard of Souls, cockily made fun of it, attacked Macias and Morningstar, went old school in the parking lot. But, of course, that did not mean that Macias and Morningstar didn't strike back. First, it looks like bringing out Flair's best friend Arn Anderson to attack him, that was all planned as what was really happening as Macias had David Flair at a dock up here in Atlantic City, as while they were in Atlantic City for Nitro. Flair and Sting went after him, but David Flair ended up in the drink. Flair saved him, but Missy and Sting ended up brawling before cops arrived in the final showdown before the big tag team title match, as can Sting and Flair with umpteen 20-odd world titles between them, but with their veteran presence and their skills, take out Macias and Morningstar and become tag champs. So let's find out at Starrcade. Isn't a video for me unless there's some kind of minor mistake. But anyway, again, I mean, that's sort of like a condensed, like, obviously the Helms RVD match has some background to it, and Kidman has that 7 stuff behind it. But there's nothing like, that requires a years long build up. As, these guys are building up to one final match before we do the split, and a huge Starrcade from the home of ECW in beautiful Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. This channel, Monday, come see who wins, who loses, who comes out a champion, who's a loser, and who, has a very hot start to 2005 here in World Championship Wrestling. But that's it for now. So if you enjoyed this, go to like, comment below on what you're enjoying, and subscribe to the channel for TEW content such as this. But that's all for now, so talk later, and adios. Have a good one.